Have you ever found yourself wondering, how do I even explain ADHD to my child? That moment where they ask, Mum, Dad, what's wrong with me? And your heart just sinks. You want to protect them. You want them to feel empowered, not broken. But the words, they just don't come. And that's what we're talking about today. And it's one of the most important conversations that you'll ever have with your child. Now, if we haven't met, I'm Donna Kay. I'm a board certified health and nutrition practitioner. And more importantly, I am a mum who has walked this road as well. I work with families of kids with ADHD who want to reduce symptoms naturally without meds, guesswork, or guilt. And every week I go live right here and answer real questions from you guys. So if you are tuning in, just give me a wave in the chat to let me know that you're here and where you're tuning in from. Jessica messaged me recently and she asked this. I want to explain my son's ADHD diagnosis to him, but I don't know how to do it in a way that he'll understand. And I want you guys just to raise your hand or drop, something in the chat if you've ever felt that way as well. Have you ever not known how to explain it in a way that they'll understand? I remember the first time my own son asked me, Mum, what's ADHD? And we were in the car and it totally caught me off guard. And even though I knew what ADHD was, I had no idea how to explain it in a way that wouldn't scare him or make him sort of feel less than, if that makes sense. So if you've ever felt stuck on how to explain ADHD to your child, you are definitely not alone. So I'm going to break it down in a way that's clear, that's empowering, and also maybe even a little bit fun. So my tip number one is to use simple analogies. My absolute favorite way to explain ADHD to kids is by using Dr. Edward Hallowell's analogy of a Ferrari engine with bicycle brakes. And Dr. Hallowell, he is a renowned psychiatrist and ADHD expert. And he says that a person with ADHD has a Ferrari brain that runs super fast, but their brakes, or the ability to control and manage their thoughts or emotions or actions, work much more like those of a bicycle. So we have to work to strengthen them. I think that's such a great analogy. And I'm wondering if anyone listening in has used that with their own child. But I wanted to give you a few others just to sort of get your, creative juices flowing. One of these other analogies might resonate with you more directly or more with your child, like comparing the brain to maybe a remote control. You've got too many buttons pressed at one time. Imagine trying to watch TV, but the remote is like going wild. It's switching channels, it's changing the volume, it's turning things off, turning things on all the time. It's chaotic, it's hard to focus on what you want to watch. And this can help your child understand that sometimes their brain has trouble focusing because too many things are happening at the same time. Now, another analogy is to compare the brain to a sports team where the neurons in your brain, they're like players who sometimes miss their passes, or their messages. So picture a soccer team where the players are trying to pass the ball to each other to score a goal. Sometimes the players might not see the ball is coming, or they might miss the pass, and the game gets, a little bit disorganized. And this is similar to how messages in the brain can get mixed up or get lost, making it really hard to stay on task or remember things. So for those that kids play soccer, that would be a great one to use. Or you can compare the brain to a superhero team where each hero has a different strength and a different challenge. Every superhero has amazing powers, but also has something they find difficult. Think of Superman with kryptonite. Maybe one hero is super fast, but he can't fly, while another one can fly, but he isn't very strong. This can help your child see that their brain is unique with special strengths and some challenges, just like superheroes. So I'm curious, I'd love to know which analogy do you like best so far? You know, is it the Ferrari? Is it the remote control, the sports team, or the superheroes? Just tell me in the comments. Or is there another analogy that you guys use? I'd love you to share that as well. So I'm going to move on to tip number 2. You want to share about both strengths and challenges. So let's talk about strengths. Kids with ADHD often have incredible strengths. Kids with ADHD often have things that can get overlooked. These strengths like being super creative or full of energy, great at thinking outside the box, or, have an amazing ability to hyper focus on things that they love. For example, you could say, how you come up with those fantastic stories and have all those great ideas? That creativity is one of your superpowers. Or how about when you dive deep into your favorite game or hobby or learn everything there is to know about it? That's another strength of yours. Now, of course, it's also important to acknowledge the challenges as well. ADHD can make it hard to focus on tasks or follow through on instructions or control impulses. And it's okay to talk about those difficulties as well, like openly and honestly, but always with a supportive tone. And so you could say something like, sometimes staying focused in school can be tough, or it might feel really hard to remember to do your chores. That's part of how your brain works, and it's something that we can work on together. Balance is everything. This is how you build self-esteem instead of shame. And I'm curious, guys, like, what strengths have you noticed in your child? Comment below. I'd love to hear them. Now, let's move on to tip number 3. You can use interactive activities. So some kids, they learn best by doing, not just hearing. And these activities can mimic some of the challenges they face, making it easier for them to understand their own experiences. So, you could have a conversation while a TV is on and then discuss how distraction made that conversation harder. You could say something like, did you notice how it was really tricky to keep track of our conversation because the TV was on? That's similar to how your brain might feel when there are a lot of things happening around you at once. This kind of activity can really help your child understand why they might feel overwhelmed or distracted in certain environments, like a noisy classroom or a busy playground. Another activity is Simon Says, but with extra distractions like music playing or have someone else in the room talking. You can discuss afterwards how those distractions made it harder to follow the instructions and stay focused in the game. You can say, see how tricky that game got when there was so much noise? That's how it can feel sometimes when you're trying to concentrate on schoolwork or chores. And those interactive activities, they're really like a powerful way to help your child and others as well understand the challenges of ADHD. It can really make it tangible or relatable, which is really, really validating. And now one final tip, tip number 4, highlight successful people who have ADHD. Kids need role models, and you want to show them their brain doesn't limit their potential. It actually shapes it. And so it can be incredibly inspiring for your child, that showing them that the ADHD doesn't need to limit their potential, that they can achieve great things with the right strategies. There are so many amazing people out there who have achieved amazing success. And so sharing those stories can really help your child see that ADHD is just one part of who we are. It doesn't define any of their abilities or their future. Michael Phelps, he's possibly the most decorated Olympian of all time. He has ADHD, but his determination and focus in the pool show that ADHD didn't hold him back from becoming one of the greatest athletes in history. Then we've got Albert Einstein. He's known for his groundbreaking theories in physics. And he had traits associated with ADHD as well. And his unique ways of thinking and curiosity led, him to some of the most important scientific discoveries the world has seen. Then Simone Biles, one of the greatest gymnasts of all times. Simone has shown that her hard work and dedication, you can overcome any obstacle. Emma Watson, famous for her acting roles, or in Harry Potter. She's also spoken about ADHD. I don't know if you've seen that, but she is an actress. She's an activist, and she has proven that ADHD hasn't stopped her from making a significant impact. So you can share these stories with your child. You can say something like, look at all these amazing people who have ADHD. They have accomplished incredible things, and I know you can too. ADHD is one part of who you are, and it can give you unique strengths. Now, highlighting these individuals can really empower your child and give them those role models. Explaining ADHD to your child, it isn't about getting it perfect. It's really about helping them feel seen, helping them feel understood, but also capable. And so you can use those analogies. You can celebrate their strengths. You can normalize their challenges. You can give them heroes that they can relate to, because the real goal isn't just understanding ADHD, it's helping them understand and love themselves as well. And so if this resonated with you guys, let me know in the comments. I am going to be posting this to my feed after this live is over. So if you want to go back and listen to any of this, write down these tips and tricks, you'll be able to do that. But I know you guys have got it. And I am right here with you. Bye for now. Have a great day.